This review has seriously been years in the making. No, really. I had recorded all of the footage I needed and was ready to write the review, but for some reason, it just never happened. This occurs every once in a while, and there's been times where I thought about doing a short video on failed review ideas, but for now, it's time to finally focus on S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Shadow of Chernobyl. Oddly enough, I still remember purchasing my copy at Walmart, a short time after purchasing Morrowind for a measly $10. And to this day, I've never completed Morrowind. S.T.A.L.K.E.R, on the other hand, has been finished probably a half dozen times or so, and it just so happens to be one of my favorite FPS games of all time. I will, of course, explain why. In S.T.A.L.K.E.R, as it's written out, but I'm not going to call it that because it's freaking stupid, and no, I'm not going to argue why I'm setting different rules between S.T.A.L.K.E.R and MC Kids, even though they use identical punctuation. You play as an unnamed amnesiac because of course you do. In what is probably one of my personal favorite opening video game scenes, he is, for some reason, running unconsciously in the back of a truck filled with bodies, while the driver navigates the road in a hectic storm. You know what? I'm just going to play the whole scene for you, so sit back and enjoy.
This one seems to be alive. What a lucky guy. At least death would have saved him from the dreams. Let's go and see what value Sidorovich will put on your head.
What have you got?
A body. It came from the death truck. It's got the mark.
Well, you know the drill. Leave him on
This is a live one.
Bullshit. You are lying.
Let the zone take me if I am.
Put it here. I think, for this one, I can give you.
Kill S.T.A.L.K.E.R. That is your mission, at least in the beginning of the game. Of course, things get very complicated quickly, with fighting factions, mangled mutants, advantageous artifacts, abusive anomalies, and other tangible threats. I'm surprised I pulled all that off. You only start with a knife, binoculars, and an infinite supply of rusty bolts that you can use to set off anomalies to ensure a safe path. After the initial interaction with the starting trader, you'll head outside to another person who tasks you with assisting a small group in taking down a camp of bandits. If you agree, you'll be given a pistol and ammo. If you don't agree, you'll just have to find a firearm using different methods, like perhaps stabbing the local military captain in the face, picking up his AK, and running to cover before you are gunned down by his troops. There is a lot of choice involved in S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and in addition, exploration is rewarded, especially as you talk with the inhabitants of the world, complete quests, and in reward are given locations of hidden caches of loot. You can find these caches on your own, but oddly enough, unless you were told about them by an NPC, they will remain empty. It's weird, but at the same time, it does help prevent you from finding one of these hidden locations and getting overpowered gear super early into the game. As for the gameplay itself, it's a normal FPS, but with a few interesting twists, at least for its time. For one, you can aim down the sights of your weapon. I know. Nowadays, it's unusual to see a shooter without an ADS system in place, but this is the first game that I personally played with it, and I was blown away. It felt so realistic. Yes, a crosshair is available if you prefer, but I tend to disable it, as I'm a much more seasoned FPS veteran than I was many moons ago. The next for the time unique feature is what I'll just call the survival mechanics. Simply put, you'll find various food and drink items in the world. You will have to consume them to remain healthy. Icons will appear on the screen when you are hungry, and not eating for extended periods of time will result in health draining. In addition to this, there are some damage-related icons that may appear. Consuming vodka or injecting oneself with anti-radiation shots will reduce any accumulated radiation poisoning. Radiation will go away on its own, but the process is very slow, and the more poisoned you are, the quicker your health will deteriorate. The third icon you might see that is dangerous to your health is bleeding. This is healed up by using higher tiered medkits or just a simple bandage. Just like radiation, the more severe the ailment, the quicker you're going to be 6 feet under. There is a weight system implemented in the game as well. You can't carry everything that you encounter, so you'll need to utilize the various storage containers to drop off spare items. Or you can just make some money and sell off what you don't need. Regardless on whether you decide to store or sell your unwanted items, it does make you conscious of what equipment and gear you are going to bring on your next mission. You also need to remember that even though you will find plenty of ammo, weapons, and health on your journey, sometimes what you have readily available is what will ultimately keep you alive. Now we come across one of the most notable things in S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the anomalies and artifacts. As you are exploring the zone, you'll come across various tells that show something is amiss. Maybe it's random blasts of electricity. Maybe it's a small ripple in the air. Or maybe you'll see a random mutant dog get levitated into the air and then mysteriously be ripped apart into a bloody mess. These are anomalies, lingering environmental hazards left behind in Chernobyl's nuclear aftermath. Each one is dangerous in their own right, but some are much more lethal than others. In the area you start the game in, you'll simply get a chunk of life zapped away by a more than painful static shock or a moderate bleed from a whoosh of air. Later on, you'll run into much more severe dangers, such as one that grabs you, lifts you into the air, and turns you inside out. Some even focus sort of like bosses, belching fire from seemingly nowhere. These dangers will force you to watch your step while traveling, but you will also learn that along with visual detection, there's an audio clue as well, in the form of your Geiger counter. When you get close to an anomaly, the device will beep. The closer you get, the less time in between beeps, and the more caution you should put in moving forward. So why would you want to get close to these dangerous situations? Well, the artifacts. Each artifact is a physical item that can randomly be spawned near an anomaly. Each anomaly also has different sets of artifacts that can be dropped into the world, with the rarer, higher tiered artifacts giving better benefits. These can range from higher defenses against bullets and stabs, resistance to radiation, higher endurance for longer sprinting distances, and so on. Most of the artifacts also have a downside, although normally minimal compared to the benefit it gives you. For example, one may increase your endurance, but force you to take more damage when attacked with electricity. The health artifacts seem to be the best, as although the game tells you health plus 200% or more, it's not your life that's increased, but your health recovery. With the best health artifacts, you can take lots of bullets and just laugh at the soldiers shooting at you as you heal up quickly. Of course, the armor that you wear helps, and armor will deteriorate as you get attacked. You will be switching armor from time to time, as there's no way to repair it in-game. You will notice a huge difference between taking damage with and without armor, so you'll always want to wear something that's in good shape. If it gets reduced to shreds, no big deal. You can simply purchase more armor from the various vendors that you can find in the world. On the world itself, the game is presented in stages, but you are free to navigate between them as you see fit. Using the map, you can see where the transitions to each stage are and where they lead to. I've read somewhere that the game was originally intended to be a fully open world with vehicles to help you navigate the Fallout zone, but it had to be cut out of the final product. It's a shame, as I would have loved to see this in action. There's a healthy supply of weapons that you'll need to take down the soldiers and mutants that you encounter. Various shotguns and assault rifles are the primary weapons, but there is an SMG and a few pistols also available, along with a couple sniper rifles and explosives. Weapons, just like the armor, could deteriorate with use and will jam on you, forcing you to reload the firearm to clear the jam. Each can also normally use a few different types of ammo. I normally didn't bother with the higher quality ammunition because I wanted to save my backpack space for more common normal ammo along with health items, but it's there if you want it. One thing I will admit is that the shotguns felt seriously underpowered in this game. Although headshots are king because of armor, I still feel a hit or two from a shotgun should take someone down. Even with the rifles, enemies can be bullet sponges, and I'd often just aim for the head to knock someone dead. The option is there if you're a shotgun fan, but just know that it may take a few extra slugs. So, who are you shooting? Well, other than the hostile mutants, there are multiple factions that may or may not be angry with you. The military, thuggish bandits, and monolith soldiers will always fire at you, although the military will be passive at the start of the game for a bit. The other three main factions are Duty, Freedom, and Loner. Loners are fellow stalkers like yourself, simply trying to survive in this barren area. Duty and Freedom, on the other hand, are fighting over the centralized remains of the nuclear plant and the mysterious monolith that resides in the center, that allegedly grants wishes if one is to make it that far without succumbing to some major radiation poisoning. Indeed, if you attempt to cross into that area before the story's plot allows you to, you won't make it far due to lacking a crucial mission item. Anyway, Duty and Freedom will not like each other, but Freedom will normally attack you on sight after a certain mission. I'm not 100% sure if they're always hostile, but I want to say that they are. Just don't quote me on that, though. On the other hand, Duty are your pals, and will let you walk around amongst them as long as you don't cause any problems. They'll even give you a few missions, one of which allowing you to get set up with some serious firepower. If you piss them off, on the other hand, they will shoot at you. I'm not sure if there's a way to overturn their hostility, as I never went that route, so be prepared. Talking about quests, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of them to do. In fact, depending on how many you decide to partake in, will determine the length of time you'll be spending in your playthrough. Most quests are simple, optional side objectives, like kill a specific person, find a wanted artifact, clear out a mutant nest, etc. There isn't exactly an objective marker, although the game will normally give you an idea on where the objective location is. Some quests, however, seem to bug out, and this marker doesn't function as intended. It's definitely a bit strange, but if you keep bringing up the PDA, you can kind of figure things out. There's also a few different endings that you can achieve in the game, depending on the actions you take in the game. Personally, I've only ever gotten one ending, no matter how many times I try to get a different one. From a guide I've read on GameFAQs, there's a sort of good ending that it's a bit more difficult to unlock, but I may have to go for it on my next playthrough in a few years. I just wanted to mention that there are a few endings, which does help lend the replayability. It's not like you really need a lot of excuses to come back to the game. The world is fun to run around in, no matter how dreary it may look. The unhealthy looking swamp, the dark underground caverns, the junkyard simply named garbage. No matter how many times I return to the zone, I always seem to find something new that I never noticed before. Regardless on how much I really enjoy the game, I must admit it's not perfect. I'm playing a user-patched version of the game called the Zone Reclamation Project, which fixes a lot of the bugs in the game. Without it, there's a couple problems. It'll crash on occasion, quests might glitch out, and I've even had it where a duty soldier tried to blow apart a wall to breach the Freedom Barracks, and the wall never blew up, so I was locked out of the quest ever finishing. It's still playable in the original state of the game, but I highly recommend the ZRP to iron out a few of the odd things here and there. Another thing I found kind of annoying, although it's a minor nitpick, is that whenever you're near another person, they are breathing really hard, like they just ran up 20 flights of stairs. Again, it's minor, but something I still want to make note of. Graphically, yeah, the game aged a bit. The world is very dark, but it is appropriate for the atmosphere that the game presents. Is it the best looking game in the world? Nah, but for its time, it looks fantastic. The characters, I will admit, look like late PS2 models, but it doesn't detract from the enjoyment factor any. So I guess what I'm saying is that the graphics don't appeal to you because they're not ultra modern or bright. Don't let that keep you away from trying the game out. and try the game out, you should. Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl is a fine FPS game, and it's well regarded for good reason. There's a lot to do, plenty of weapons to cause havoc with, and the element of danger is around every corner. A decent story with good presentation wraps up the package. Yeah, the mutant bugs can rear their heads to cause some crashing in unpatched games, but just be careful to save often and you'll be fine. There are 2 sequels in Call to Pripyat and Clear Sky, and an official Stalker 2 is in the works, and I cannot wait to play it. Oddly enough, I still haven't played the other 2 Stalker games either, but they are in my near future, methinks. So yeah, definitely play Shadow of Chernobyl. It's on Steam and GOG and on sale frequently, so there's no reason not to give it a go. Final score? 6 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.